Well, hello, boys and girls. It's nice to be back. It's good to see you again. I'm feeling a little frustrated because about half an hour ago, I recorded chapter 5 and 6. And then when I played it to listen to it, I found out that there was something wrong with my microphone. So even Mr. Chidiak, with all his experience doing things like this, sometimes there are problems. And so when I realized there was a problem, I had to walk away. I'm back now. I'm going to try this again. But this time I'm going to read chapter 5. I'm going to make sure it works. And then I'll make another video for chapter 6 because I don't want to spend all my time trying to do something that's not working. I want to figure out what the problem is. I'm not giving up though. So I want you to remember that. Sometimes you have problems, you deal with them, you troubleshoot them. That means you work on them, you try to fix them. You don't just give up, especially when it's important like this. I really want to read to you. I want you to be part of this experience. So here we go. Let's see if this works. Chapter 5, I'll share my screen. And we'll take it one step at a time. Here we go. Okay. Chapter 5. John hung up his coat, got his notebook and pencil out of his locker, and sat down at his small table just in time for the second bell. When Miss Plimsoll walked silently into the classroom. Sorry about that. As soon as she appeared in the doorway, all the chattering and scuffling stopped. The 20 boys and girls sat straight in their chairs and looked straight ahead at the clean blackboard. "Good morning, children," Miss Plimsoll said. "Good morning, Miss Plimsoll," the class answered respectfully. Miss Plimsoll sat at her high desk, blinking her eyes as she surveyed the room. Then she opened a little drawer in her desk and pulled out a spectacles case from which she took her reading glasses. She removed her long-distance glasses, put on her short-distance glasses, snapped shut the spectacles case, replaced it in the drawer, shut the drawer, tilted her head forward so that she could look over the glasses on her nose, and said, "This morning, children, we are going to have an important test." There were some groans and a few oohs and ahs. Miss Plimsoll lifted up one of her hands, and silence was restored instantly. "No complaining, please," she said sternly. "This test will show me how well you have been learning your arithmetic this year. It will be a short one. I am going to write just 4 problems on the board. I shall expect you to solve them all swiftly and accurately, to write your answers neatly. You will place your paper in front of you now. You will write your name at the top right-hand corner, and then you will place your pencil beside your paper. Sit back in your chair and wait until I give the signal to begin work." Miss Plimsoll turned to the blackboard and began chalking up the test problems. Tests always made John nervous. Besides, his lips were feeling dry, and the taste of chocolate was strong in his mouth. He raised his hand. "Yes, John," Miss Plimsoll asked. "Please, may I go and get a drink of water, please, Miss Plimsoll?" he asked in a small voice. "Very well. Hurry back. We're going to start in a few minutes." John gratefully slipped out of the room and walked quickly down the quiet corridor to a water fountain. His tongue felt thick with chocolate. The cold water would be refreshing. He passed his foot down on the fountain cradle, and a stream of clear, ice-cold water spurted up from the silver nozzle in the white enamel basin. He lowered his head until the jet of water reached his lips. The cold water splashed delightfully against the outside of his mouth. He opened his lips. As soon as the water gushed in, it turned into ice-cold chocolate water, thin and sweet. Quickly stopping the flow, John looked with dismay at the shallow puddle that had formed and was now draining away in the basin of the fountain. He hurried to another fountain on the second floor of the building. But there the same thing happened. The clear, ice-cold water turned to liquid chocolate in his mouth. When John finally got back to his classroom, all the other pupils were bent over their tables, busily scratching away. Miss Plimsoll looked up from her book as John tiptoed in. She looked at the clock on the wall, looked back at him, and wagged her finger reprovingly. John began on the first of the four problems, but he was so worried about the chocolate water that he couldn't keep his mind on his work. By the time he was ready to start the fourth problem, the other boys and girls were already putting down their pencils and straightening up and smiling at each other. 2 minutes to go, said Miss Plimsoll. Concentrating hard, John took the end of his pencil between his teeth and began to nibble it. It immediately turned to chocolate. Then he noticed an even more disturbing change. Although he had taken the pencil out of his mouth, as soon as the first piece of chocolate had crumbled off, the pencil was continuing to change to chocolate, and the chocolate was slowly but steadily moving down the pencil, replacing the wood and the lead inside, changing it into a chocolate pencil before John's very eyes. The magic, for John now knew that his power must be magic, was apparently getting stronger. By the time the whole pencil had changed from red, yellow, and black to brown, Miss Plimsoll was announcing that only a few seconds remained in which to write down the final answer. Just a minute, John said. Shh, Miss Plimsoll cautioned him, holding her finger up to her mouth. Shh, chorused the slow workers, who were becoming almost as excited as John. But John felt worst of all. He felt sure that he could finish the problem and write down the correct answer if only he had something to write with. But Miss Plimsoll, he begged in a loud whisper, my pencil's turned to chocolate. Shh, John, Miss Plimsoll said. I'll speak to you after the bell. John tried to write with his changed pencil, but the point was too soft, and he only succeeded in making a chocolate smear where he should have written 72. So there we have it, friends. That's chapter 5. I'm going to stop there, cross my fingers that this works, and hopefully I'll be back soon with chapter 6, okay? Hold on.